Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Alright, so it's time for my bi-yearly video about a video game. In today's video, we are exploring the story and lore of the Cake Mania franchise. Why this particular series of games, you might ask? Well, cause I like them. They're a childhood classic for me, so I want to talk about them. And if you enjoyed this video, then please be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel and hit the bell so you know when I upload next. Thank you! Okay, so what is Cake Mania? Cake Mania is a time management computer game series from the mid-2000s to the early 2010s centered on this woman named Jill Evans and her adventures bringing joy to people's lives through the power of cake. Pretty much all of the games have the same basic mechanics. You push buttons on the machines around the bakery to bake a cake, frost it, and put a topper on it, with the goal of serving customers quickly so they leave happy and you serve more people to make enough money to progress to the next level and buy upgrades for your shop. The only exceptions to this are the 4th and 5th games in the series, but we'll talk about those when we get there. So, let's start our journey at the beginning with the game Cake Mania, released on April 15th, 2006. The story of this game is simple. Jill Evans used to love helping run the family bakery with her grandparents when she was a kid, and that's where she found the passion she wanted to make into her whole career. She eventually leaves her hometown to go to culinary school for college, and when she comes back after graduation, she finds that the Evans Bakery has been bought out and shut down in the name of corporate capitalism. Fudge Megamart! We all hate Megamart. This is actually not the last time corporations will try and ruin Jill's hometown of Bakersfield, but again, we'll get to that later. So, Jill decides she's gonna girl boss her way to the top and raise the money herself to buy back the land and save her family's bakery. She starts selling cakes out of her house for a year before running a bakery on a beach for the next year, then touring with a traveling circus for another year, and then finally running a bakery out of a Las Vegas casino for a 4th and final year. So, after 4 long, hard-working years of saving up, Jill eventually gets the money to buy back the property, and the Evans Bakery is saved. We love that for her. Now, there is a lesser-known expansion pack to the original game that I played as a child. Not as often because it only takes place at one location and there's no way to see your progress, so it kind of wore me out, honestly. Plus, I also found the Back to the Bakery expansion to be quite a bit more difficult than the original game. But then again, I was 4 when this game came out, so every single game at the time got very difficult at a certain point for me. That just happens. But anyway, the Back to the Bakery expansion takes place after the events of the original game and is about Jill entering the Evans Bakery into this huge baking competition where the winner gets a cruise to Hawaii. Don't cancel my girl. Don't cancel my girl for that. This took place before it was known Hawaiians understandably don't want tourists there. This was still 2006. But her grandparents are girl, no offense, but these judges want a cool looking bakery and ours is kinda mom and pop trashy. We're kinda old fashioned. So Jill is y'all, we have the best recipes in the world. Let me do some redecorating and I'm winning y'all that cruise cause y'all deserve it for raising me and always supporting my dreams and sending me to culinary school. Oh my god, y'all deserve it. So Back to the Bakery takes place entirely in the Evans Bakery for 3 years, and you follow Jill along as she renovates the place from a little mom and pop shop into a luxury bakery. And eventually she's able to win the competition and send her grandparents on the cruise. Why the competition took 3 years to finish, I don't know. I always thought that was weird, but But apparently, I guess the Cake Mania Bake Off is the Olympics of baking in this world or something. So if that's the case, Jill is a low-key and Olympic gold medalist. Go off queen, we love that for her. And yes, I know the Olympics take place every 4 years, but oh well. Now, you might be wondering where Jill's mom and dad are in all of this, what happened to them, why was she raised by her grandparents, etc. Yeah, Jill Evans is an orphan, her parents are dead. Interestingly enough, this is never addressed in the series until the final game, which came out in 2011. So for almost a decade, we were just left wondering, where the heck they were, and it turns out the whole time they were buried 6 feet under somewhere. okay. Ooh, sorry to her. There are also a series of Easter eggs in this game in the form of cake toppers that reference other Sandlot games, including Trade Winds, Super Granny, Slider, and Snail Mail. I always found Slider like so adorable, and I love the Snail Mail one because I love that game. And also, before we move on, I'd like to, at the end of each game section, mention which platforms the games were ported to, cause these games got ported, darling. So the first Cake Mania was ported over to the Nintendo DS, which also included Back to the Bakery, the Palm OS. What even is that? I don't know, but this game was ported to that device, and the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation Portable, where for some reason the title was altered to Cake Mania Baker's Challenge for the PlayStation variants. I don't know why. The only real difference between any of these versions is that the PlayStation versions have a little wheel that pops up when you go to a station to pick which item you want from that station, and as opposed to on the computer version where you just directly push the button on the machine. Now let's move on to Cake Mania 2, sometimes referred to as Cake Mania 2 Jill's Next Adventure. Now, I'll be honest, I've seen the end to each plotline of number 2, but I'm pretty sure I've only 100%ed this game once in my life, despite playing it and the others dozens and dozens of times. And the reason for that is just because it's so long. It's either the longest or second longest in the series, right up there with the final one, To the Max. And the reason for that is because there are 6 locations in this game. Each location has 36 levels to complete if you want to 100% the game and get all the trophies. But those 36 are divided into tracks of 12 levels that all follow a different story. Now, I know that when I say that, it doesn't really sound like a lot, and it's really not. Especially compared to games nowadays, where you can sink 70 hours into it and still not complete it all the way through. But this game came out in 2007, September 4th to be exact, and 6-year-old me felt that it was very grainy as heck. Whereas 22-year-old me now is oh, okay, that's a piece of cake. Pun intended. Sorta. But anyway, the general plot of this game is that Jill is bored with life day in and day out working at the Evans Bakery. She enjoys it, but she's also I want adventure in the great wide somewhere. I want it more than I can bear. Sorry for that. And she is presented with opportunities over the next few years to shake up the monotony of her life. This game has the option of choice. After finishing one set of levels, you are presented with 2 possible options and can choose how the story progresses, with each bakery's plotline being a little bit different depending on when you choose to go there. This game also introduces many characters that will make up the rest of the supporting cast going forward, including series regulars such as Jack, Risha, and Tiny. So, the first set of options you are presented with at the start of the game are as follows. Jill's cousin Risha has opened a dessert cafe called Tarts in the big city. Unfortunately, Tarts is a complete flop, and Risha's rent is due, so she's panicking and calls Jill up to be "Girl, can you come please save my cafe? Or else I'm gonna have to file for bankruptcy. I don't wanna go under, please." But then Jill's old idiot friend Jack comes waltzing in to the bakery begging for her help also. Cause apparently he opened up an underwater aquarium, but he decided to go the cheap route when constructing it, so it's underwater, and a major safety hazard. Ooh, it's bad for him. Jack, for some reason, gets the bright idea of pleading with Jill to open a bakery at his flop aquarium to attract visitors so he can make some money and also low-key try to, bribe the authorities with delicious cake to leave him alone. Or, fix up the underwater place so that they can all, leave him alone. Because, yeah, he is under investigation by the FBI, actually. Because it's a major safety hazard. Now, I have not replayed the entire game all the way through for this video, so I did watch a playthrough of the game, and we will be following the plotline that playthrough video that I watched takes. But anyway, in the playthrough that I watched, Jill makes the smart decision and goes to help Risha first, because yeah, I don't want my girl ending up in jail right now. Although, to be honest, I did usually pick the underwater aquarium, because it's blue. Blue is my favorite color. I love the ocean, so I did usually pick the underwater aquarium for her to go first, but yeah. So if you go help the cousin, Jill does make tarts a huge success in a year and make it the toast of the town. What does Risha do to help make her dessert cafe a huge success? Absolutely nothing. She just greets people when they walk in. Yeah, that's all she does. But after a year, Jill is like, city life is exhausting. I need something new. So she's looking through her mail one day and she gets this job offer to have her own spot on this huge baking show called the Dessert Show in Tokyo, Japan, and is really excited, like, oh my god, I'm going to be on TV. But she also keeps getting postcards from Jack begging her to bail him out with his flooded aquarium and is like, ugh, I kind of feel bad for the loser, like, maybe I should help him. But now, the playthrough that I watched for this video had her go to Japan instead, again, making the smart choice, not getting involved with the FBI lawsuit, criminal investigation stuff. She is going to Japan to be on TV. Now, another year goes by, and the studio loves her. Jill's show is a hit. They want to have her film a baking documentary in Antarctica called Extreme Baking. Like, her career and fame is thriving more than ever. But then, interestingly enough, the FBI comes knocking on her door and is like, ma'am, we need your pastries for a secret government project on the moon. You're coming with us. Funnily enough, you still get the choice between either going to the moon or Antarctica. Like, you still get the choice to tell the FBI to go fuck off. Like, I don't know, that's kind of funny to me. Anyway, the playthrough had her go to the moon and be the first person to open up a bakery there. Now, the secret project that the government specifically wanted Jill to solve through the power of cake is actually a galactic baking competition. Yes, the aliens are hosting a baking contest, and the US government wants Jill to represent Earth. Like, oh my god, she is that girl. Now, remember, we already won a huge baking contest in Back to the Bakery, so naturally, she wins by the end of the year and is declared the best baker in the universe. Try not to say mother challenge failed. By the end of the year, after she's won the competition, she is sick and tired of space. Like, Jill has the attitude of, if one more mother-fudging alien asks me for this one specific kind of cake, I'm gonna scream and commit galactic war crimes in this place. So she's thinking of calling up the Japanese TV studio and asking if they're still down for filming that documentary in Antarctica. But she's also like, you know, I kinda miss that idiot Jack and his stupid smile. Like, maybe I should go and see if he managed to get that aquarium sorted out. Now, the gameplay video that I was watching had her follow her heart and go see Jack in his aquarium at long last. So she decides to go open the bakery at the underwater aquarium, and thankfully by now, it is not a hazardous disaster. Business is actually really good. And over the next year, they get close, like really close, to where at the end of the year, he ends up proposing to Jill, and the two of them get engaged at the end of the game. Aw, how cute! That is one of the endings to this game. Like I said, there are multiple different plot lines to this game. You can pick and choose which bakery you go and where you go to, so there are all kinds of different endings that you can get, one for each bakery. I'm not going to go over every possible timeline because we'd be here forever, but all the bakeries generally have a similar plotline that differentiate in small ways. The big city plot usually has something to do with Jill helping Risha in her bistro. The underwater bakery usually has to do with Jill making sure Jack's business doesn't get him sent to federal prison. The TV set plot has something to do with Jill working in the Japanese entertainment industry. The moon involves galactic hijinks that are connected to the FBI somehow. Antarctica typically involves a disease of some kind infecting the penguins or the people down there, and Jill helping to solve it with the power of cake. And there is a sixth bakery set in the distant future, which is usually about how humans stopped eating and instead just take supplement pills to survive now. So Jill literally teaches humanity how to eat food again through the power of cake, and she is an international hero through the time ages. Another thing is that when you complete a story arc, aka going through 4 bakeries to get an ending, you do get a different trophy depending on which bakery you ended at. So if you complete the storyline where Jill and Jack get engaged at the end, you'll unlock the engagement ring as a trophy. The other notable trophy you get is the Time Bender, which is the device that allows Jill to travel to the distant future for the 6, special bakery. Which, after completing a plotline that involves her going to the future, she is allowed to keep the Time Bender for herself. I just wanted to make sure we all knew that, the Time Bender is a thing, cause that and the engagement do play major roles in the 3rd game of the series. Also, there are Easter eggs in this game also in the form of cake toppers. The cat topper is a reference to Super Granny, and the horseshoe topper is a reference to the game Westward. I'm not sure if the other toppers in this game are in reference to anything. I don't think they are, but maybe I just missed something, but I don't think they are. And before we move on, let's talk about where this game was ported to. Number 2 was ported over to the Nintendo DS and the Nintendo Wii. The DS version isn't much different than the computer version, as far as I can tell, only the ovens just look different, but the Wii version is very different. On the Wii, this game is known as Cake Mania in the mix, and its graphics and animations are much different than the standard computer version. I'm sure there's a reason why they made it like this, but I'm not a tech person, so I can't really answer that question. Alrighty, Cake Mania number 3, released on August 29th, 2008. My personal favorite of the series, cause I like the varied bakery setups, I like the music, the machine designs, and the art style here. I think it's the best here. I don't know, this has always been my favorite game, honestly. So in this game, it is Jill and Jack's wedding. Wait. In the wise words of Ava Max, hold up, just wait a minute. Why have I never realized until just this moment that they named her husband Jack as a play on the Jack and Jill nursery rhyme? Why have I never realized that until now? Cut the cameras, deadass. Oh my god. Anyway, their wedding is coming up and everyone is at the Evans Bakery, of course, because where else are you gonna hold a wedding in this universe? The Evans Bakery is the place to be. You've got Risha the cousin, Tiny, a sumo wrestler that she met in Japan, Agent Bunt, an FBI agent from the Moon Adventures, and of course, Gran and Grandpa are all here. Jill is stressed, of course, and everyone is trying to calm her down, but it's not really working, and in the chaos, she accidentally knocks over the Time Bender device from the last game, and it shatters into a bunch of pieces. Everyone picks up a piece of the broken Time Bender and is whooshed throughout time. I can only imagine what Jack was thinking, because he walks in on this to see his fiancée vanish into thin air. It's bad for him. But it's even worse for Jill, because unlike her friends and family, she's transported to this pocket dimension outside time and space, surrounded by doors leading to when everyone was dropped off at. And the game is basically her going throughout time and improving society throughout history and the world with the wonder of cake, so people eventually love her enough to help her rescue whoever she is looking for. There's the prehistoric times, Dino Desserts, where Agent Bunt is trapped, and Jill convinces dinosaurs to eat cake instead of him. There's Ancient Egypt, Dessert Oasis, where Grandpa is stuck atop the Pharaoh's pyramid that's almost complete, and Jill gets the Egyptians hooked on cake enough to where it's easy to convince Pharaoh to basically let her put cocaine and Adderall in one of her cakes and give it to his workers so they'll be super fast climbing up the pyramid and getting her grandpa down safely and quickly. I don't know what she actually put in that cake to make them go Super Saiyan. I don't know, she put something in that cake. Then there's Ancient China, Cake Fu, with Risha, and this is where Jill allegedly fixes the Time Bender by recalibrating it with the help of expensive gold chopsticks. Don't ask, I don't know, I don't know. Then Medieval Fairy Tale Europe, Fairy Cakes, where Merlin is senile and thinks Grandma is his sugar baby fairy bride-to-be and holds her captive because her baking is just so good. So Jill teaches the actual sugar baby fairy bride to learn how to bake cake properly, so Merlin will let her grandma go. And then there is Versailles during the French Revolution, Les Boulinaires, I don't know how to pronounce the name, quite honestly, I don't speak French. But in this one, Tiny is apparently causing famine by eating everything in sight, so the monarchy people are gonna behead him, and Jill is like, whoa, 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 let's chill about that, like no one needs to lose their head. How about I bake y'all like lots and lots of cake, and we don't behead my friend, cool? Let me add this side note here on France real quick for 2 reasons. One, I do love the joke at the very end where everyone in court loves cake so much that Marie Antoinette is gonna make it a national delicacy with her fake "let them eat cake" thing. Like, oh, honey, that's not gonna end well for you. Miss Marie, don't go out on the terrace. Do not make that proclamation. Like, oh, no, 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 no. But also, number 2, looking back, the dialogue in the first cutscene for France, yeah, the dialogue is pretty problematic in this part because Tiny is portrayed as nothing more than like a fat idiot, and it's like, why? It's just, why? Why did we need to write that into the script? Like, no, that did not age well whatsoever. We do not support that. Moving right along, there is another bakery that pops up after you complete all of these bakeries, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Now, there is no set order for how you have to go through the 5 main bakeries. You can play them in any order, and it doesn't really have an effect on the storyline either. Personally, though, I think there are 3 likely options for how the events take place. 1 and 2, Ancient China takes place either as the first bakery or the last bakery, because that's when Jill fixes the time bender. Or 3, it goes prehistoric times, Egypt, China, medieval Europe, and finally France. And I feel like option number 3 might be the most likely because in the cutscenes for Dino Land USA, Egypt, and the start of China, the time bender looks like it has a piece missing from it, but in medieval times and France, it looks completely whole. And I don't know, it would kind of make sense starting from like the very beginning of time and working your way throughout history. Like, I don't know, that makes the most sense to me. So I think prehistoric times, Egypt, China, Europe, and then France, and then, you know, the 6th bakery at the end. But no matter which way you think the 5 main bakeries take place, the final one is concrete that it happens last, cause, well, it doesn't pop up until you finish all the other ones, and its plot revolves around you messing with time, so yeah, it has to come last. So, as you go through the game and progress through the different bakeries, you will have customers designed for each specific location, but you'll also get customers from previous locations. Like, if your first bakery is Dino Land USA, you'll only have dinosaurs and cavemen as customers. Then, if you pick Egypt as your second place, you'll have Egyptian customers alongside dinosaur customers. Then, if you pick China as your third bakery, you'll have, like, Chinese people, Egyptians, and dinosaurs, etc., etc., etc. That's, you know, how the game works. And because of this, you know, time problem, time anomaly stuff, when Jill is done rescuing her friends and family, she is trying to figure out how to set time right and stop all of these time travel shenanigans. So a 6th door appears that leads to the distant future once again, and she's literally like, well, that solves that problem. Pick the shiny door. Which I understand, like, it's a pretty door. I'm on her side. Like, what else are you gonna do when the mythical 6th shiny door appears and you're looking for a solution? Like, yeah, pick the shiny door. This ends up causing everyone from the previous time periods to just be transported into the future. Cavemen, the French court, fairies and wizards, everyone is here. And so Jill's like, what the fudge just happened? Oh my god, I just made it worse somehow. Like, oh, this is not good. And her friend that she made in France called Marquis, yes, that is his name, is like, hey, girly pop, look, you're not gonna get anywhere in this society as long as you're a nobody. And the only way you can become somebody around here in the futuristic world is if you're a famous, bigger politician. So, like, get to work. So Jill begins her political career by setting up a bakery, Future Cakes, and campaigning to become elected as Supreme Baker of the Universe. By this point, we all know that the Evans family recipe is the best cake recipe across time and space. It's the cocaine, methinks. Like, I don't know, she's putting some in that cake. So, of course, she wins the election and society wants to make her their leader of the New World Order, basically. But as a humble queen in love, Jill is like, look, I just wanted some influence so the scientist of this time period would properly fix the time bender and send everyone home, cause I got a wedding to get to. So the time bender is fixed, all of the customers go back to their time periods, and Jill makes it back in time to get married to Jack. And uses the time bender one last time to honeymoon in Versailles. Maybe not the best time to pick because of the French Revolution and all that. You know, that's all starting up around then. But let's ignore that. Let's ignore that. I also have to mention that this game is the only game in the series that has mini-games. You don't have to complete them on the PC version, they're just there for a bit of added fun and to give you a bit of extra spending money for your bakery. I got mad at the minigames on the Nintendo DS version though when I was little because you can't skip them on the DS and they get significantly harder as you progress, so by the final bakery, they are nearly impossible to beat. At least they were for like 8-year-old me. Another fun fact is that this game actually switches up the upgrade color order for the machines going forward in the series. So in games 1 and 2, stuff like the ovens and frosters will be green when you first buy them, and as you upgrade them to be faster, they'll turn to like silver/blue before finally turning to a pinkish purple or a purpley pink color when you fully upgrade them and they are at their fastest. Now, number 3 actually changes this color order going forward because the machines will still start out green at their slowest, but they'll turn to pink/purple at tier 2, silver/blue at tier 3, before finally turning to gold at their fastest. I didn't know where else to put this little fun fact, so I figured I would stick it here. Yeah, just a little fun fact. Also, number 3 is the only game where you can customize Jill's appearance, actually. You get an outfit based on each bakery along with her standard outfit for this game, and you can pick whichever one you want to wear in the levels. And also, once you complete the game, you also unlock her wedding dress and can play through the game wearing that. And also, there are expansion packs to number 3. The Evans Bakery, Karave, a medieval Russian bakery, and the Westward Bakery is a reference to Sandlot's other game series, Westward. I'm not sure if Karave is in reference to anything, but maybe it is, maybe it isn't, I don't know. I personally never got to play these levels because I didn't know they existed until Sandlot Games, the company that made Cake Mania, went bankrupt and now you just can't find them anywhere. At least I haven't. Like, okay, if you know where to find these levels at, where I can download like these expansion packs, tell me, I'm curious, I would love to play these expansion packs. Anyway, the Evans Bakery expansion pack does come with a bit of story where all of the customers from across time show up at the bakery during the wedding, thanks to Merlin, of course. Jill gives them all cake and her recipes so they can finally go home once and for all and leave her alone. That's all. Like I said, I never got to play these expansion packs and I haven't been able to find any cutscenes from Karave or Westward, so I'm not sure if those 2 expansion packs, had any story to them or not. A side note, was there something in the air in the time management kids PC gaming realm during the mid to late 2000s? Because this is not the only game I know of that had random customization in expansion packs. I know Diner Dash 3 and 4 did this also, and probably others did as well, so what was up during this period? Why were we introducing expansion packs and random customization just randomly and then dropping it entirely moving forward throughout the rest of the series? I don't know, something was in the air in 2008, I guess. Anyway, as for the porting of this game, number 3 was ported over to the Nintendo DS, and also to mobile devices such as the iPod and iPhone. The differences to these versions and the computer version are minor. The DS version just has like one layout of the bakery compared to how on PC every bakery has a different layout, and there's also only 2 ovens/frosters as opposed to the 3 on the PC. And like I said, the minigames are not skippable on the DS, and they're also a little bit different too. The only real difference with the mobile versions is that, like the PS versions for the original, a selection wheel will pop up when you select a station, and that's how you choose which cake to bake or which frosting to put on. Alrighty, now let's move on to the 4th game in the series, Cake Mania Main Street. I don't exactly know when this game was released, and that will be a trend going forward for the rest of these games, because most every site on Google had different dates. But I'm gonna go with IGN's date and say that Main Street was released on October 7th, 2009. Now, this is the first time in the series where you don't just bake cakes, and actually get to run a bunch of different shops. Now let's get into it. The story of Main Street is that Jill and Jack are back from their honeymoon, and she is showing him around her hometown of Bakersfield. Well, trying to at least. Main Street is a ghost town. The local economy is in shambles. Capitalism is in full swing, and all the mom and pop shops and restaurants and stores have gone out of business because of the new Baker's Corner supermall that has come to power. I told you that mega corporations would try to ruin Bakersfield once again. So Jill is like, oh heck no, fudge big corporations trying to ruin my hometown again, and calls up Risha and Tiny being like, y'all, we gotta come up with a plan and real quick, like let's call a plan of action. So the gang plans to reinvigorate Bakersfield by opening small businesses and nabbing customers from the mega mall so they eventually go out of business. And this is where the you get to rent a bunch of shops thing comes into play. Obviously, you run the Evans Bakery with Jill as she once again gives it a makeover. I think canonically this is at least the 4th major renovation the bakery has gone through, because you've got its layout in the prequel game To the Max, then its layout in Back to the Bakery, the makeover it gets in Back to the Bakery. It's got a slightly altered appearance in the expansion pack for number 3, but not a big major renovation. Then at some point it got another makeover, cause at the start of Main Street it has a different appearance and layout, and by the end of Main Street it's gone through yet another makeover. So yeah, the Evans Bakery really is being updated a lot. Anyway, so you've got Jill, but you also get to play as Jack running a burger restaurant, Risha running a flower shop, and Tiny running a sushi bar. They each have their own subplot that you can read at the start of each level through, their little diary entries, but these subplots don't really have an effect on the main story. Though if you are paying attention, you will pick up on little hints here and there that each of the characters drop that lead into a big reveal at the end of the game. I think this game was also when there was a tycoon craze in the PC gaming sphere. Don't quote me on that, I don't know. Cause I remember seeing a ton of tycoon games around the late 2000s, early 2010s, at pretty much every single store that I went to. But yeah, that is to say that this game does also have a slight tycoon aspect to it, where after each level you can travel back to Main Street and buy upgrades for the town, like tourist attractions and renovating your shops and all that. And as you do this, more and more people will appear on the map, showcasing that the plan to revive the local economy and take down the mega mall is working. And the characters will also make comments about this also as you get later into the game. I personally typically either finish the burger shop or the sushi bar last, cause they had different gameplay than the usual style that I found in the bakery and the flower shop. Plus also, I'm gay. Of course I'm going to prioritize selling cakes and flowers with the girlies instead of flipping burgers with the boys. Of course I am, of course! Once you've finished the game, Main Street is of course saved, and the gang all celebrates their success in making a corporation go bankrupt, which I love, of course, we love that. And also the big reveal at the very end is that Jill is pregnant. Well, it's not explicitly stated, I will say that, but it's strongly basically saying it without directly saying it, yeah. As for ports, once again, we have the Nintendo DS and mobile devices. I couldn't find much gameplay for either of these, but this is what I did find. The Nintendo DS version plays the same as the DS version of number 3, at least for the bakery and presumably the flower shop. Like, I could not find any footage of the burger bar or the sushi bar from the Nintendo DS version, but oh well. The mobile version of this game also plays the same as the mobile version of number 3 for the bakery and the flower shop with, the selection wheel and all that. While, interestingly, the burger bar and the sushi bar on mobile devices didn't appear to have any changes made to their gameplay, at least none that I noticed. Now on to the 5th game in the franchise, Cake Mania Lights Camera Action. Again, I don't exactly know when this game came out because all of the results had different dates, but it was sometime in July or August of 2010. And personally, this is my least favorite of the PC games, and it always has been, because I just personally think it lost all sense of this series' identity. Like, it's not bad, I like the gameplay, the story is okay, and it is a fun game. It's just not as fun as the others in my opinion. In Lights Camera Action, we are still running multiple different shops, but this time there are only 3, and they each have completely different playstyles. Risha has turned the flower shop into a boutique, and her levels are basically hidden object match games where you find the clothing pieces that the customer wants and give it to them. There is this Italian chef guy named Gordo or Gordon, whatever, who was a gag character in Main Street because he had this gimmick where he magically transform everyone else in line into hot dogs and change their orders. But in this game, he buys Jack's Burger Shop and turns it into a pizza restaurant, and the gameplay is the same as the restaurants in Main Street, where you cook food and serve it to people in a bar style. And of course, there is the Evans Bakery, which has undergone its 5th major renovation, and it still has its usual format of clicking buttons to bake, frost, and serve customers. This game also marks an interesting turn in the series where you really don't get to play as Jill all that much. You play as Jill for the first 5 or 6 levels of the Evans Bakery, but doing everything for the bakery is just too much stress and pain for her with the pregnancy because she is 8 months pregnant at this point. So Jack steps in to help and you play as him for the majority of the bakery levels. In order to still have Jill be a bit involved in the levels, the game introduces the first and last major change in how the bakery operates. Fruit! We love allyship! In this game, sometimes instead of regular toppers, customers will order fruit on their cake. So you bring it over to Jill and you click the spots indicated on the cake to place different pieces of fruit on it. I think this is an idea from the mini-games in the 3rd game, but it wasn't a major thing until now. Though, I think you can sell the fruit station, so you don't have to deal with it if you don't want to. And by doing so, you can also kick Jill out of the bakery entirely if you want to also, I guess. Okay, we're kicking the Evans out of the Evans Bakery once again, damn. Now, how am I just now getting to the story of this game? The story, it's kinda a mess, to be honest. Basically, there's 2 main plots going on. Firstly, as the game title would suggest, there is a big blockbuster movie being filmed in Bakersfield, so everyone is in an uproar, and it's also why Risha changes her shop, because she wants the celebrities wearing her brand. Girl boss, we love that for her. Tiny is cast as the star of the film, so all of the friends are very happy for him, but production is a total nightmare in every way possible. At one point, the director of the film even skips town and jeopardizes the whole project, so Risha steps in to take over directing. Why and how that's allowed, don't ask me.
Don't ask questions you aren't prepared to handle the answer to!
Gordo, the Italian chef guy, yeah, ignore him. He does not play any significant role in the plot despite having a playable shop in this game. I think his subplot has something to do with the local health inspector, but I don't know. For all I know, they could be becoming a couple, I don't know. But the second major plot is obviously about Jill's pregnancy and all the prep work going into it, with Jill trying to make sure everything is ready, like the nursery, and learning how to parent and all that. and Jack being a dumbass like usual. A helpful one with the bakery, of course, but you know, he's still a dumbass because that's just his nature. Like, he's just a goof. He's just a baby girl. You know, he's just a lovable goof. We like him. And yeah, lights, camera, action ends with the movie doing amazing and Tiny becoming a huge movie star and Risha becoming a big name director now, as well as Jill and Jack becoming parents to a pair of twins, a boy and a girl. Honestly, looking back, it feels like some people working on this game wanted to focus on the pregnancy, which makes sense, and that's what they should have done, to be honest. But then, like, the higher-ups probably said something like, nah, that's too boring and girly, throw in something more exciting like a movie plotline. Like, I don't know if that's what happened, but it kind of feels like that's what happened, so I don't know. I do have fond memories of playing this game because all the shops were unique and enjoyable. I even remember there were times I logged in just to play a few levels of like one specific shop and then logged out. But the story was just so forgettable and boring. Even when I was younger, the movie thing just felt so out of place and random, which is saying something because A, I want to be an actor, so like if a movie plotline is boring to me, like you're doing something wrong. But also B, like how is it that a simple, you know, oh, we're filming a movie in town, a plotline feels so out of place and random in this series when like, considering we've had an intergalactic baking contest with aliens and a future where democracy is rooted in cake and celebrity status. How? How does this plotline feel out of place considering all the crazy shit in this series? Now, following Jill and Jack on their road to becoming parents was actually kind of lovely, and again, I wish the writers had really focused on that for the plot of this game, because it would have been nice. It just would have been nice. That would have been more appealing to me, honestly. Also, side note before we move on, I love the ovens in this game. Like, look at them. They're so cute and small, and they fit so perfectly under the counter. Oh my god, I want one. It's like an industrial easy bake. Oh, it's so cute. As for ports of this game, there are none. This is actually one of the only two mainline games in this series to not have any ports. No DS, no mobile, no Wii, no PlayStation, nothing. Sorry to like the two lights, camera, action stands. Yo lost with the ports, I'm sorry. And the final Cake Mania game released on computers is Cake Mania To the Max. And once again, I can't find an exact release date. It's either January 5th, 2011 or November 3rd, 2011, depending on which site you trust. Personally, I think January 5th makes the most sense considering, you know, what happens later that we'll talk about. But this is the last mainline Cake Mania game of the series, not the last one overall or the one in this universe, but we'll get to that. And I feel like this is a going back to our roots sort of game. Like, there's no other types of shops, it's all just cake and takes place entirely in the Evans Bakery once again. The bakery setup is similar to that of the first two games, not exact, but similar with ovens at the top of the screen, frosters at the bottom, and a display case in the middle, of course, you know, with all the other contraptions. And it brings back Gran and Grandpa into a significant role and largely cuts out all of the other supporting characters except for Risha. And I think the reason for that is because she got her own, like, spin-off game around this time, so they wanted to keep her involved. So yeah, I don't know, but that's my theory. I also feel like this was made to be like a last game in the series, or at least a last game for Jill in the series, because it does have a send-off / celebration vibe to it, because story-wise, we get more time spent with Gran and Grandpa than ever before, and we get a significant look at Jill's life before she became a, you know, world-renowned baker like we've never seen before. And we also get some answers to questions that fans had since the start of the series, like what happened to Jill's parents. If you can't tell already, we go back in time with this one, specifically to the 80s with Jill in her senior year of high school, and we just basically follow Jill and Risha through their senior year of high school, as Risha plans the prom and Jill helps with baking a huge cake for the event. That's kind of it. We just basically follow them on what they're doing in high school for their senior year. The level select screen for this game also gives us a lot of looks at Jill's life and childhood as she was growing up, because it's like a photo album of sorts and spread out all over this table. And as you progress through the levels, you see more and more memories of Jill when she was growing up and all that stuff, and being raised by her grandparents, and having Risha by her side and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, we also get a look at her life in that way too. As for the ports of this game, one of my friends on Twitter said that this was ported over to mobile devices, but I haven't found any photos or videos of that, so I can't confirm or deny that it exists. Other than that, once again, this game has no ports. Now, while To the Max was the final game released for computers, it was not the final Cake Mania game overall. There was actually one other game released exclusively for mobile devices, titled Cake Mania Celebrity Chef. Side note, it has always kind of bothered me how the icon for this game is just like a recolored version of the icon from, Cake Mania number 3. That's kind of always bothered me. It's always kind of screamed a little bit of laziness to me, but whatever. I was able to find a more concrete release date for this one. Not 100%, but better than the last 3. The official trailer on YouTube has available now at the end, and it was uploaded on April 12th, 2010, so that's what I'm going for with the release date of this game, April 12th, 2010. Now, I'm just gonna say this right now, Celebrity Chef is by far the worst game in this franchise. It entertained me enough when I first played it, but yeah, it's not that good. Okay, so the plotline of Celebrity Chef is that Jill is invited to participate in a reality baking competition show and compete around the world against top bakers to see who is the world's best baker. There is no story connections to this game whatsoever. You could put this anywhere on the timeline or even in an alternate dimension. It really doesn't matter. This game, its plotline doesn't connect to any of the other games, so yeah. But personally, I like to imagine this takes place after Lights Camera Action, because the mental image of Jack and the kids watching the show from home and cheering Jill on as she competes is just sweet. It makes me smile. I like that mental image, so I headcanon this taking place after Lights Camera Action. Anyway, there isn't much to say about this game. The gameplay is the same as ever, just on a much simpler scale, and it plays the same as the other mobile ports with the selection wheel and all that stuff. Mini games are brought back, and they're basic and not really fun after a while, but they're there, they get the job done. And this game looks ugly as heck. What do you want me to say? I don't know, what do you want me to say? And yes, Jill does win the baking competition. What did you expect? This is a world-renowned, time-traveling, saved her family's bakery and won her grandparents a cruise, saved Bakersfield from economic ruin, saved the penguins, saved her cousin's flop bistro, saved her husband's low-key illegal aquarium, already been on TV before, won the Universal Galactic Baking Competition against aliens, been to the future twice, and was elected Supreme Baker of the Universe, and brought the world and humanity back from the brink of extinction and stopped world starvation, ended world hunger. Jill Evans, we are talking about. Of course she won this basic-ass reality show. It's far beneath her at this point. She just needed some cute TV money because she has twins to raise. Don't question or doubt the mother of baking. Okay? Let's get this straight. Don't question Mother Jill Evans. Interestingly, now don't quote me on this, but I think, personal opinion, not sure, not 100% confirmed, I don't know, but I think this is the only game of the series not made, or at least not produced, by Sandlot Games. From what I could find, this was actually put out by Gamehouse Games, at least when I downloaded it back in the game, and according to the YouTube trailer, it's put on the Gamehouse Games YouTube page instead of the Sandlot Games page, so I don't know. Little interesting tidbit right there. I don't know what happened there. I don't know. Now, you might be thinking that's where the trail ends. That's the last Cake Mania game. But no, we have one more game to talk about, and it's the only spin-off game from the Cake Mania franchise. Fashion Forward. It's kind of hard to find information on this game, so I am going to use the FanWiki's release date of June 1st, 2011 for this game. Granted, that is after when I Said Celebrity Chef came out, and this was made by Sandlot as opposed to like Gamehouse or whoever, so I don't know. I don't work in the industry, and I'm not one of those YouTubers that has the time or know how to find people who made these games or the social skills and confidence to then call them up and be like, hey bestie, can I ask you when these games were made and published? And also, like, what happened to Sandlot? Like, thanks! Like, girl. I've got 30 subscribers, childhood nostalgia, and probably some mental problems that fuel this video. You get whatever I remember and can find on Google, okay? Now, how do I put this lovingly? Yeah, Fashion Forward was a flop. I don't know how to put that. Like, I didn't even know this game existed until like a year ago, and when you put in Fashion Forward or even Fashion Forward game, this game does not come up whatsoever. You gotta add in the Fashion Forward game Risha at the end to find it. Now, I didn't know it existed till just last year, but I have managed to get my hands on a copy of it just a few days ago. How? None of your business. Through completely legal means. Fashion Forward is a fun time management adventure packed with stylish, innovative fashions. Having moved to Hollywood in the wake of her wildly successful directorial debut, Risha realizes not all is smiles and sunshine. After opening a hot new boutique and drawing the ire of a major magazine editor, Risha stands determined to prove that great fashion is both flattering and unique. Help Risha launch her new line, win over her many detractors, and convince the famous fashion magazine editor that fashion should be for everyone. Now, as of the recording of this video, I have not finished this game, cause girl, I'm currently in play, I have lines to memorize, and also I have a book to write, so like, you know, I got more important things to do, but I have started playing Fashion Forward, and it passes the time. It's not exactly good or bad, it's just there. Yeah, I know time management games are repetitive, but I'm not sure if this hidden object thing from Lights Camera Action is really good enough to carry its own game. I will say that it did strike me as odd to have Risha's whole motivation in this game be that the Hollywood fashion scene only makes clothes for like super skinny people and not, you know, anyone else of a larger size whatsoever. Cause like, girl, you're super skinny also. Like, Risha girlie, you and I are both 90 pounds. Be serious about this. Everything is too small for you. Like, come on now. Like, let's be serious. Like, I don't know. I just found that kind of funny because I don't really think a skinny mini like me or Risha is exactly the best character to lead the charge about how fatphobic the fashion industry is. And I also did find it kind of funny how Risha's whole thing is about making clothes for anyone and everyone to feel good and look good in, yet in one of the like pre-level diary entries, she's like, oh my god, the customers I'm getting so far are something. Like I was expecting more glamorous clientele. Like, oh, ma'am! Girl, if you're making clothes for anyone and everyone, yes, you're gonna get the rag tags. Also, you know, they need clothes too. Oh no, I just found that kind of funny. Anyway. While I have not personally finished this game in its entirety, I did watch a bit of a playthrough for this game, and it ends at this like fashion show where like everyone there is going on and on about how great and comfy Risha's clothes are. The rival magazine editorial lady spills wine on herself, and Risha gives her a sweater which is apparently so cozy that it basically makes the evil magazine lady extremely high, you know, like similar to how like Jill's cakes low-key had like cocaine in them back in like number 3 with like the Egyptian people. You know, like something is laced inside the fabric of Risha's clothes, because like the magazine lady is just like blitzed out of her mind the second she puts on the sweater. Like she's gone. Like she is higher than a freaking kite wearing that sweater. Anyway, Risha then manipulates her into giving her a full spread in the magazine, front page and everything. Like, okay, girl boss, I guess. Like, okay, go off. The gameplay for Fashion Forward is basically the same as her shop in Lights Camera Action. You got a store of random clothes everywhere, and you find the items the customers want in a timely manner, so, you know, they don't get mad and storm out. Again, I don't have like too much to say about this game from personal experience because I have never finished it, so like, I don't really have like too many memories to draw on about it, and also it tanked, so it's kind of hard to find like any info about this one. Sorry Risha Queenie, you deserve better. To end on a positive note about Fashion Forward though, when I was watching the playthrough, I noticed something in the hub area that caught my eye. Okay, so the level selection page of this game takes place in, I'm guessing, Raisha's office. It's like her work studio. And on one of the bookshelves in her studio, I actually noticed that there was a trans flag displayed there. So I was like, oh, is Raisha a trans icon? We love that for her. Now, we have finished going through all of the games, themselves. So let's move on to other out-of-game stuff to talk about. Starting with the Lost Cake Mania game. There was actually meant to be a 7th mainline game in the Cake Mania series called New Generation. However, it was cancelled in 2011 after Sandlot was sold off and shut down. Nothing is known about this game besides its name, no images, no concept art, no story details, no gameplay footage. We don't know who, what, where, or when this game would have took place or what it would have been about. If you look up this game on Google, you will find a page on the Idea Wiki that wants to say what this game is about. However, that page is just an idea by a fan and nothing official. If I had to guess, I'd assume New Generation would have had something to do with Jill's kids being older and maybe taking over the Evans Bakery, simply because of the New Generation. That's the title. Like, what else could New Generation mean? I don't know. But again, that's just a theory. A game theory! Nothing is actually known about what New Generation would have been. Regardless, I am still sad that we never got it and likely will never know anything about it. But, if you know one of the people from Sandlot, if you know anyone from Sandlot, or if anyone from Sandlot is watching this, comment below, email me, I don't know, hit me up on Twitter, DM me, I don't know, let me know, I'm curious, I want to know what New Generation was about, yeah, I'm curious, I want to know what this was about, I'm sad that we never got it. But that moves us right into what happened to Sandlot Games, the studio behind Cake Mania and Fashion Forward. Well, according to every English teacher's favorite online source, Wikipedia, the company was founded in 2002 and has quite a few successful titles under its belt, including the Super Granny, Westward, and Tradewind series, as well as a personal childhood classic, Snail Mail. In August 2011, however, Sandlot was sold to another company called Digital Chocolate. That's also likely when New Generation was scrapped, around the time when it got sold. However, Digital Chocolate's Barcelona studio, as well as most of the games that they owned, were sold off to Ubisoft in September of 2013. What was left of Digital Chocolate at that point, pretty much just, a few Facebook games, was then sold in April 2014 to a company called RockYou. And then RockYou filed for bankruptcy in February of 2019. I cannot find who owns the rights to Cake Mania or any of the other Sandlot games today, but if I had to guess, I'd likely say Ubisoft, because they bought most of Digital Chocolate's stuff except for the 4 random Facebook games. So Ubisoft, stop being a bitch and give us a new Cake Mania game. Forget shit like Assassin's Creed and Just Dance, who cares about that? The people want Cake Mania New Generation instead, Ubisoft. Come up with a new game. Now that we've covered the games and their events, I'd like to take some time to talk about the characters of the series. Obviously, not every single one, all of the customers or whatever, but just anyone that had at least a supporting role in at least one game. So let's begin. Jill, the protagonist of the entire Cake Mania series, and even making a cameo in Fashion Forward. Jill Evans is a baker and current owner of the Evans Bakery. She is kind-hearted, sassy, and has a never-give-up attitude. We've talked about what she's done in the series throughout this entire video, so I won't rehash everything in order for us to get to the other characters quicker, but simply put, any problem can be solved with cake if Jill Evans is around. Need a prom dessert? Cake. Business closing down? Cake. Entire town in economic ruin? Cake. Contacting aliens across the galaxy? Cake. Society on the brink of collapse due to world hunger? Cake. Jill is not only a master baker, but the best baker in the entire multiverse, and it's because of her character, skill, and recipes that the Evans Bakery name is a world-famous and thriving business. She now lives in Bakersfield with her husband Jack and their twins Rose and Oliver. Jack. Introduced in the second game, Jack is Jill's husband and the father of her children. In basic terms, he's a lovable mess. Something is always going wrong or breaking when Jack is around because he's a doofy klutz. But things always get resolved, whether through someone bailing him out or him just figuring out how to fix the problem on his own. Like we mentioned before, the second game has him open up an underwater aquarium that is so dangerous, it gets inspected by the federal government for months, with Jill opening a bakery in it to both attract business and low-key bribe the inspectors to, leave him alone. And along the way, throughout the aquarium storylines, they fall in love and get engaged by the end of that game. He's really not present in the third game, only briefly showing up in the beginning and ending cutscenes where him and Jill get married. I always thought that this was an odd choice. I feel like he could have taken Agent Bunt's spot and been the one who got whisked away to prehistoric times, but oh well. Main Street has him opening up a restaurant named the Burger Barn to help Jill revive Bakersfield. And fun fact, in one of his pre-level diary entries, he mentions he actually tried to start up several different businesses, and they all kinda crashed and burned, sometimes literally, and that the Burger Barn is the first real success he's had at starting a business. Lights Camera Action sees him sell the Burger Barn to Chef Gordo, who we'll talk about later, in order to help more with the Evans Bakery as Jill enters the final month of her pregnancy. We love a husband that actually steps up to the plate. We love that for him. Him and Jill met in college, so he's not present in To the Max really at all, and he's not mentioned in Celebrity Chef at all either for some reason. But it can be assumed he ends up continuing to help around the bakery and raise his children. Fun fact number 2, Jack's always been smitten over Jill. There are some pre-level diary entries in both Main Street and LCA where he talks about having a massive crush on her during their culinary school days and would low-key pay more attention to her than the actual lectures, which explains why he can run a restaurant and the bakery decently, but needed Jill's help in order to make the underwater one work. He may be a goof, but he's always willing to lend a helping hand however he can, especially if the situation involves Jill. Risha. Introduced in the second game, Risha is Jill's cousin and one of Jill's closest friends. She's the high-maintenance city gal of the group who loves the modern and the stylish. Her and Jill grew up together and were best friends since forever, though she didn't live with Gran and Grandpa. In To the Max, she's portrayed as sort of a mix between the school queen bee and the weirdo, being very involved in planning the prom and wearing garish outfits she thought were trendy at the time. After graduating though, she got the hell out of Bakersfield and tried to never look back, aside from keeping contact with those closest to her. As mentioned before, in the second game, Risha opens a cafe bistro. It's called both, I don't know the difference between the two, in Los Angeles and enters her flop era because she doesn't really know what she's doing in running the business. So she calls in Jill to help her make the business a success, which it does become one. It's unclear what happened to the cafe because we never see or hear about it again after number 2, so maybe she sold it off or something, I don't know. But in Main Street, Risha moves back to Bakersfield to be part of the team that helps Jill revive the town by opening up a flower shop called Risha's Flowers. She hates living in a quiet suburban town, much preferring the chaos of a city, and mentions that the locals view her as a weirdo, particularly on one occasion when she carried around a chihuahua in her purse and everyone gave her dirty looks and laughed at her. But nonetheless, she sticks it out in order to help her best friend because that's the kind of person she is. But she does insist that Jill gets some kind of Wi-Fi in the bakery, please. In Lights Camera Action, she renovates the flower shop into a boutique in the hopes that all the movie people will be seen out and about in her designs and she'll get some notoriety as a fashion designer. We love a girl boss. But things take a turn when the director of the Pride and Prejudice remake skips town and leaves the film in shambles. So Risha takes control and directs the movie herself, doing away with all of the ridiculous plot changes the former director was making, like alien invasions and whatnot, and instead sticking to a proper remake of the book. The film is a success, and Risha uses this newfound bit of fame to move back to LA and propel her fashion design career, thus moving us into the events of her spin-off game, Fashion Forward. She opens up another boutique and becomes the hottest designer on the scene, with both regular folk and celebrities adoring her clothes, and eventually landing a cover story in one of the biggest fashion magazines. Risha is smart, sassy, and both goal and trend-oriented, and she's one of my favorite characters in the franchise. No one's taking the top spot from Jill though, like Jill will always be my queen. It took her a while to figure out what her purpose in life is, but eventually she found it and made it all the way to the top in the fashion world. In my opinion, you can really see the beginning of a lifelong character arc taking shape all the way back in Main Street, and continuing into LCA and TTM as the team behind the games fleshed out her character more. Which is likely why they gave her a spin-off game, because Risha is one of the most developed characters in this series, aside from Jill of course, and Fashion Forward allowed them to finish out her story once and for all. Tiny. Technically introduced in number 2, but made his actual debut in number 3, Tiny is a former sumo wrestler and one of Jill's closest friends who she met when she was working at the Japanese TV studio. When I say technically introduced in the second game, I mean there is a sumo wrestler customer in that game, but he's never named. Main Street later uses the same model/animation to represent Tiny whenever he appears as a customer in a level, pretty much confirming the sumo wrestler customer from number 2 was him. Speaking of Main Street, he's one of the people who comes to help Jill revive Bakersfield during the 4th game, by opening up a sushi bar called Sumo Sushi. In Lights Camera Action, however, Tiny is cast as one of the leads in the Pride and Prejudice remake being filmed in Bakersfield. It's unclear whether he still owns the sushi bar at this time, or if he sold it off. Fashion Forward does not mention what he's up to after the events of LCA as far as I could find, and he's not present at all in TTM. But presumably he either went back to running the sushi bar, or pursued a career as an actor thanks to the success of the film. Grandma and Grandpa. Introduced in the first game, Grandma and Grandpa are, well, Jill's grandparents, obviously, who raised her since she was a child after the passing of her own parents. They're the founders of the Evans Bakery, with Grandma creating the original cake recipes that made the bakery a success, and Grandpa inventing the machines that we use in the games. Well, at least the original one. Loving and supportive, they encourage Jill to pursue her dreams of becoming a baker and help her pay for culinary school. They don't get nearly as much spotlight in the series as some of the other supporting characters like Jack or Risha. Their biggest on-screen roles are during the cutscenes for the first game and Into the Max, but they're both frequently mentioned in Jill's pre/post level diary entries in every single game. Except for Lights Camera Action, which always struck me as odd and honestly worried for them, like, where are they? But nonetheless, they're always in the background helping to support Jill in whatever way they can, whether that be taking an active role in the bakery once again so Jill can travel the world in the second game, or letting her and Jack stay at their house during the events of Main Street while the newlyweds look for their own place. Agent Bunt. Introduced in number 2, but not given a name until number 3, Agent Bunt is an FBI agent who Jill met when the government summoned her to go to the moon. He's only really in the 3rd game, being the one who freaks out the most over the time bender breaking. Because his time in the series is so short, we don't know much about him other than he's kinda your stereotypical American spy, with a no-nonsense attitude. Chef Gordo. Ugh, this bitch. Introduced in the 4th game, Chef Gordo is an Italian chef trying to make his way in the world selling food. In Main Street, he works a hot dog stand cause he thinks that's what Americans love, and huge success will just come flocking towards him, which it doesn't. Pretty sure I already mentioned this, but in that game, he's a customer with a gimmick where after a few seconds, he'll magically change everyone else in line to be guys in hot dog costumes and have their orders change along with them. He then comes back in Lights Camera Action, having bought Jack's Burger Barn and renovating it into an Italian restaurant. which does become successful, and his dream of, running a successful restaurant is fully realized. So good for him. Personally, I find him really annoying and kind of egotistical, but whatever. Maybe some people like him, I don't know. And finally, the mad costume guy. Okay, I am breaking my rule here because this is a customer, but I have to mention him because he appears in nearly every single game somehow. Okay, so in most every game, there is this one customer who is a guy dressed in some sort of onesie costume. In the first one, he's the Easter Bunny. In number 2, he's a penguin. In number 3, he's a unicorn from the medieval Europe levels. In Main Street, he's a hot dog. In Lights Camera Action, he's a chicken. In Fashion Forward, he's an elephant. And he's even in Celebrity Chef dressed as a lion. The only game he does not appear in is To the Max, and I do not know why. I swear, I looked through my footage, I scoured playthrough footage on YouTube trying to find him in that game, but I just couldn't. I don't know why the mad costume guy isn't in To the Max when he's in all the others. It's weird. But anyway, this guy always comes in upset and hating his life, and he's one of the most impatient customers. But when you do serve him, a bit of joy comes out, and he's just a silly little guy for a second before he leaves. No, the mad costume guy is not named, I don't think, but he is in pretty much every game, so I had to mention him somewhere. If you know his official name or have any ideas for what we should name him, comment down below. My vote is on Dan, honestly. Lastly, I want to take a moment to just say thank you to everyone at Sandlot Games who had a role in creating this series. The artists, the writers, the programmers, the music people. I have been playing the music from this franchise throughout this video if you couldn't tell. The designers, the producers, the voice actors, the coders, and everyone else in between. Cake Mania was such a huge part of my childhood. I've probably dumped like hundreds, if not 1,000 hours into this series, and have replayed the games over and over and over again throughout the years, and even still to this day play them. Like, especially now since making this video, it has thrown me back into the world, and I've been playing these games again a lot lately. So yeah, like, I know no one who made these games is watching this video, but even still, thank you for everything, thank you for Cake Mania, and thank you so much for the memories it continues to give me. But yeah, that's a relatively in-depth look at the Cake Mania series. I kinda want to do this for a few other series, but the ones that I have in mind have like so many games in them that it feels kinda scary to me, so I figured I'd start off with like, something smaller, just something relatively smaller. But if you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and hit that bell so you know when I upload next. Tell me in the comments what you thought of this video, and also what you think about Cake Mania in general. If you've played any of the games before, if you want to play any of the games now, I don't know. Did you like them? Did you hate them? Were they childhood classics for you too? Let me know. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.